We're getting ready to start the introduction lesson for SAT Math Level 2 Prep course. There's 40 lessons in this course. Email me here for a classroom code to enroll in the course. And I got PowerPoints videos all on DVDs. If you want a DVD for the course, you can email me here as well. Okay, the introduction lesson here for SAT Math Level 2 Test Prep course is 36 points here. Will be on your class worksheet, which you should have in front of you. Or if you don't order a note-taking guide, just take the notes down. If you're on video, pause your video. If you're on your PowerPoints, it's a lot easier to do. So anyway, let's go into page 1 here. Because the SAT subject test covers specific content, they should be taken as soon as possible after completing the necessary courses. This means that you should register for the Level 2 Math subject test in June after you complete a pre-calculus course. You can register for SAT subject tests at the College Board website, which is www.collegeboard.org, or by calling this number here, 866-756-7346. If you previously registered for an SAT test or SAT subject test, or by completing registration forms in the SAT registration booklet, which can be obtained in your high school guidance office. You may register for up to 3 SAT subject tests at each sitting. Colleges use SAT subject tests to help them make both admission and placement decisions. Because the SAT subject tests are not tied to specific curricula, grading procedures, or instructional methods, they provide uniform measures of achievement in various subject areas. This way, colleges can use SAT subject test results to compare the achievements of students who come from varying backgrounds and schools. So it's kind of a benchmark for admission to certain colleges. You can consult college catalogs and websites to determine which, if any, SAT subject tests are required as part of an admissions package. Many competitive, quote-unquote, colleges require a Level 1 math subject test. If you intend to apply for admission to a college program in mathematics, science, or engineering, you may be required to take the Level 2 math subject test. If you have been generally successful in high school mathematics courses and want to showcase your achievement, you may want to take the Level 2 math subject test and send your scores to colleges you are interested in, even if it isn't required. A diagnostic test will help you quickly identify your weaknesses and gaps in your knowledge of the topics. You should take it under test conditions. The majority of students who take the Level 2 math subject test are accustomed to using graphing calculators. Where appropriate, explanations of problem solutions are based on their use. Secondary explanations that rely on algebraic techniques may also be given. The 6 practice tests break down problem types. So in this course, there are 6 practice tests, which you can get in study plan number 5. So by topic, 6 practice tests break down problem types by topic. Approximately reflects the nominal distribution established by the College Board. So the 6 practice tests cover the different kinds of tests, or rather problem types, that you'll find on the Level 2 tests. The percentage of questions for which calculators are required or useful on the practice test is also approximately the same as that specified by the College Board. So these practice tests are kind of established by what you're going to actually see on your level 2 test. Similar to the College Board test, each practice test that's included in this course opens with reference information box that contains a list of 4 solid geometry formulas. So, overview of the level 2 math subject test. The SAT level 2 math subject test is 1 hour in length and consists of 50 multiple choice questions, each with 5 answer choices. The test is aimed at students who have had 2 years of algebra, 1 year of geometry, and 1 year of trigonometry and elementary functions. According to the College Board, test items are distributed over topics as follows. So here's what's going to be on the test. Number and operations will be 5 and 7 questions. Operations, ratio, proportion, complex numbers, counting numbers, elementary number theory, matrices, sequences, series, and vectors. That's included in your number and operations. Then algebra and functions, 24 through 26 questions. So this is a big part of your test right here. This is at least half your test. Algebra and functions. It works with equations, inequalities, and expressions. Knowing the properties of the following classes of functions: linear, polynomial, rational, exponential, logarithmic, and trigonometric, and inverse trigonometric, periodic, piecewise, recursive, and parametric. So be familiar with these mathematical modeling techniques, which are covered in this course. All of these are covered in this course. Coordinate geometry, 5 to 7 questions. So symmetry, transformations, conic sections, polar coordinates. And then we go into 3-dimensional geometry, which is 2 to 3 questions. We'll have volume and surface area of solids, prisms, cylinders, pyramids, cones, and spheres. And then coordinates in 3 dimensions. Trigonometry will have 6 to 8 questions. So right triangles, law of sines and cosines, radian measure, equations, identities, and double angle formulas. Data analysis, statistics, and probability. There will be 4 to 6 questions on this area. Measures of central tendency and spread, graphs and plots, least squares regression, meaning linear, quadratic, and exponential regressions, and probability. Calculator use. As noted earlier, most students who take the level 2 math subject test are familiar with the use of a graphing calculator. In addition to performing the calculations of a scientific calculator, graphing calculators can be used to analyze graphs and to find zeros, points of intersections of graphs, max and mins of functions. Graphing calculators can also be used to find numerical solutions to equations, generate tables of function values, evaluate statistics, and find regression equations. You should always read a question carefully and decide on a strategy to answer it before deciding whether a calculator is necessary. A calculator is useful or necessary on only 55 to 65% of the questions. But that's half the test. That's a big part of it. You may find, for example, that you need a calculator only to evaluate some expression that must be determined based solely on your knowledge about how to solve the problem. In both the diagnostic test and the practice test, a star in the answers explained sections indicates questions for which a graphing calculator is necessary or helpful. Most graphing calculators are user-friendly. They follow the order of operations, and expressions can be entered using several levels of parentheses. There is never a need to round and write down the result of an intermediate calculation and then rekey that value as part of another calculation. Premature rounding can result in choosing a wrong answer if numerical answer choices are close in value. On the other hand, graphing calculators can be troublesome or even misleading. For example, if you have difficulty finding a useful window for a graph, perhaps there is a better way to solve a problem. Piecewise functions, functions with restricted domains, and functions that have asymptotes are other examples where the usefulness of a calculator may be limited. Calculators have popularized the multiple choice problem solving technique called backsolving, where answer choices are entered into the problem to see which works. In problems where decimal answer choices are rounded, none of the choices may work satisfactorily. Be careful not to overuse this technique of backsolving. That can hang you. The College Board has established rules governing the use of calculators on the mathematics subject test. So you may bring extra batteries or a backup calculator to the test. If you wish, you may bring both scientific and graphing calculators. So you can bring both if you want, backup batteries or a backup calculator. Test centers are not expected to provide calculators, and test takers may not share calculators. Notify the test supervisor to have your score canceled if your calculator malfunctions during the test and you do not have a backup. Certain types of devices that have computational power are not permitted, such as cell phones, pocket organizers, power books, and portable handheld computers, and electronic writing pads. Calculators that require an electrical outlet make noise or talk or use paper tapes. Those and a list of acceptable calculators can be found on the College Board's website at collegereadiness.collegeboard.org/sat/taking the test/calculator policy. You do not have to clear a graphing calculator's memory before or after taking the test. However, any attempt to take notes in your calculator about a test and remove it from the room will be grounds for dismissal and cancellation of scores. So how the test is scored: there are 50 questions on the level 2 math subject test. Your raw score is the number of correct answers minus 1/4 of the number of incorrect answers to the nearest whole number. For example, if you get 30 correct answers and 15 incorrect answers and leave 5 blank, your raw score will be 30 minus 1/4 times 15 will equal 26, rounded to the nearest whole number. Raw scores are transformed into scaled scores between 200 and 800. The formula for this transformation changes slightly from year to year to reflect varying test difficulty. In recent years, a raw score of 44 was high enough to transform to a scale score of 800. Each point less in the raw score resulted in approximately 10 points less in the scaled score. For a raw score of 44 or more, the approximate scaled score would be 800. For raw scores of 44 or less, the following formula can be used to get an approximate scaled score on the diagnostic test and each practice test. So S would equal, your score would equal 800 minus 10 times 44 minus R, where S is the approximated scale score and R is the rounded raw score. Strategies to maximize your score. Budget your time. Although most testing centers have wall clocks, you would be wise to have a watch on your desk. Since there are 50 items on a 1-hour test, you have little over a minute per item. Typically, test items are easier near the beginning of the test, and they get progressively more difficult. Don't linger over difficult questions. Work the problems you are confident about first, and then return to the ones that are difficult for you later. Guess intelligently. You are likely to get a higher score if you can confidently eliminate 2 or more answer choices, and a lower score if you can't eliminate any choice. Read the questions carefully. Answer the question asked, not the one you may have expected. For example, you may have to solve an equation to answer the question, but the solution itself may not be the answer. Mark answers clearly and accurately. Since you may skip questions that are difficult, be sure to mark the correct number on your answer sheet. If you change an answer, erase cleanly and leave no stray marks. Mark only one answer. An item will be graded as incorrect if more than one answer choice is marked. Change an answer only if you have good reason for doing so. It is usually not a good idea to change an answer on the basis of a hunch or whim. As you read a problem, think about possible computational shortcuts to obtain the correct answer choice. Even though calculators simplify the computational process, you may save time by identifying a pattern that leads to a shortcut. Substitute numbers to determine the nature of a relationship. If a problem contains only variable quantities, it is sometimes helpful to substitute numbers to understand the relationships implied in the problem. Think carefully about whether to use a calculator. The College Board's guideline is that a calculator is useful or necessary in about 60% of the problems on Level 2 test. An appropriate percentage for you may differ from this depending upon your experience with calculators. Even if you learn the material in a highly calculator active environment, you may discover that a problem can be solved more efficiently without a calculator than with one. Check the answer choices. If the answer choices are in decimal form, the problem is likely to require the use of a calculator. Study plans. Your first step is to take the diagnostic test. This should be taken under test conditions, timed, quiet, without interruptions. Identify areas of weaknesses using the cross-references to the Part 2 review. Use the review to strengthen your understanding of the concepts involved. Ideally, you would start preparing for the test 2 to 3 months in advance. Each week, you would be able to take one practice test following the same procedure as for the diagnostic test. And that is your introduction to SAT Math Level 2 Test Prep. Email me here, animatedpowerpointmathvideo@aol.com, for questions or course materials. Thank you very much.